Hi, I'm Comrade Shane, and this is a DPRK reality check. Today, I would like to give an elucidation of the political system and state organs of the DPRK. I will begin by looking at a few articles in the Constitution, starting with number 1, which states, "The Democratic People's Republic of Korea is an independent socialist state representing the interests of all the Korean people." And Article 2, "The Democratic People's Republic of Korea is a revolutionary state which has inherited the brilliant traditions formed during the glorious revolutionary struggle against the imperialist aggressors and in the struggle to achieve the liberation of the homeland and the freedom and well-being of the people." And Article 3, "The Democratic People's Republic of Korea is guided in its activities by the Juche idea and the Songun idea, a world outlook centered on people, a revolutionary ideology for achieving the independence of the masses of the people." The Republic is a Juche-oriented state, which embodies the idea and leadership of Comrade Kim Il-sung, the founder of the Republic and the father of Socialist Korea. His ideas and the achievements made under his leadership are the basic guarantee for the Republic's prosperity. The socialist system of the Republic is a people-centered social system in which the masses of the working people are the masters of everything, and everything in society serves them. As seen with Article 4, the sovereignty of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea resides in the workers, peasants, soldiers, working intellectuals, and all other working people. The working people exercise state power through the representative organs, the Supreme People's Assembly, and local people's assemblies at all levels, which I will talk more about later in this video. In accordance with the nature of its socialist system, the government of the Republic defends and protects the interests of workers, peasants, intellectuals, and all other working people who have become masters of state and society, free from exploitation and oppression. Now, a common misconception I have seen made by many Marxists and other self-described communists is to say that, quote, "the DPRK removed communism or Marxism from the Constitution," or even that they took down pictures of Marx, as evidence that they have given up building communism or carrying out the revolution. This misconception, which should already be weakened by the articles I just mentioned, really falls apart when we consider that according to the Constitution, it is the fundamental revolutionary task for the government of the Republic to achieve the complete victory of socialism in the northern half of Korea by strengthening the people's power and vigorously performing the 3 revolutions: the ideological, technological, and cultural. Now allow me to pause here for a moment. Firstly, it should be understood, especially by communists, that the complete victory of socialism mentioned here means precisely the building of communism. As Marx and Lenin made clear, socialism is, after all, the lower stage of communism. The Constitution continues, "And to reunify the country on the principles of independence, peaceful reunification, and great national unity." And And next, in Article 12, the Constitution says that the state shall adhere to the class line and strengthen the dictatorship of the people's democracy so as to firmly defend the people's power and socialist system against all subversive acts of hostile elements at home and abroad. In Article 13, it states that the state shall implement the mass line and apply the Shangsenri spirit and Shangsenri method to all of its activities, the spirit and method by which superiors assist their subordinates, mix with the masses to find solutions to problems, and rouse them to conscious enthusiasm by giving preference to political work with people. These two articles fortify further that DPRK is a true socialist state, which is waging the revolution to build communism. As we know, communism is an inevitable development of society. Although the ruling class and reactionaries in capitalist societies prevent its development through the dictatorship of the bourgeoisie. So, in order to continue progress in social development, their dictatorship must be replaced with the dictatorship of the proletariat. And the existence of the dictatorship of the proletariat implies progress in social development and thus the building of communism, which is done by the masses, for the masses. Now, perhaps the most important aspect of a people's democratic government can be found in Article 5, which states, "All state organs in the Democratic People's Republic of Korea are formed and function on the principle of democratic centralism." And Article 6, "The organs of state power at all levels, from the County People's Assembly to the Supreme People's Assembly, are elected on the principle of universal, equal, and direct suffrage by a secret ballot." As should be well known to communists, democratic centralism is an organizational method applied most famously by the Bolsheviks. The rules of the Communist League and International Workmen's Association of Marx's day are based on the same general principles. However, it was Lenin who coined the term and developed the principles of a disciplined, mass, working-class political party, democracy in discussion, centralism in action. It is also referred to as proletarian democracy, and is one of the most important features of a proletarian state, if not the most important feature. Now, I will also make mention of Article 7, which says, "Deputies to the organs of state power at all levels have close ties with their constituents, and are accountable to them for their work. The electors may recall at any time the deputies they have elected if the latter lose trust in the former." Now, with having explained this, the most important aspect of the people's government of the DPRK, the proletarian democracy, we can easily refute and disprove the idea that Comrade Kim Jong-un is a dictator or authoritarian autocrat. Despite the mainstream imperialist mouthpiece media constantly parroting this line and conjuring up the image of a ruler who has absolute power over every aspect of society, the reality is actually quite the opposite. Firstly, the principles of democratic centralism I just outlined don't allow individual persons to make policy changes to law or strategies in execution. Furthermore, as we can see by point 5 in Article 91 of the Constitution, the Supreme People's Assembly has the authority to elect or recall the chairman of the State Affairs Commission, the position titled Supreme Leader that Comrade Kim Jong-un occupies currently. And in Article 105, we can see that Comrade Kim Jong-un is accountable to the people, as it is stated, quote, "The chairman of the State Affairs Commission of the DPRK is accountable to the SPA." What this means is Kim Jong-un really is the representative of the people, as he is accountable to them and recallable by them. So here we can see that true political power lies with the people. And so now this would be a good time to briefly mention a few of the important organs of state power in the DPRK. Power organs consist mainly of the central power organ and local power organs. The central power organ is the Supreme People's Assembly and the SPA Standing Committee during its recession. Local power organs are the People's Assemblies and committees at all levels. The Supreme People's Assembly is the supreme power organ of the Republic. It holds the highest position and authority of the Republic and exercises legislative power. Composed of elected workers and peasants, it has the power to make new laws and remove old ones, as well as to edit the nation's constitution, deliberate and approve the state budget, and report on its implementation. It can elect and recall deputies to important central organs, including the chairman of the State Affairs Commission, as I already mentioned, Comrade Kim Jong-un, but also Premier of the Cabinet, other members of the Cabinet, Prosecutor General, President of the Central Court, and so on. Meetings of the SPA happen once or twice a year. National elections happen every 5 years, and so that is the term they serve. But extraordinary meetings can be called by the Presidium or by a petition by at least 1/3 of the members of the SPA. It also has the rights to organize the important state organs. So when I say that this Supreme People's Assembly is made up of elected workers and peasants, I mean that the workers and peasants that you will find on this highest legislative body in the DPRK are ordinary street cleaners, factory workers, mill workers, and farmers, and so on. Now, the Presidium of the Supreme People's Assembly is the supreme power organ during the SPA's recession. It is the equivalent of the Central Council of the USSR, and it is an elected council of full-time politicians who handle the day-to-day operations of the state. While the SPA is not in session, it is the highest organ of state power. This Presidium does not have the authority to amend the Constitution or to introduce new major laws, aside from an instance of invasion, and even then, the priority is to try and convene an emergency meeting of the SPA. The Presidium's primary role is to carry out the decisions reached by the SPA, to supervise the various committees set up by the SPA, and to work with the local people's assemblies and with the court system. The Presidium, too, is accountable to and recallable by the Supreme People's Assembly. Now, the local people's assemblies is the local power organs and includes provincial, or the city under the direct jurisdiction, people's assemblies, cities or district people's assemblies, and county people's assemblies. It can propose bylaws and also initiate the creation of new laws to be reviewed by the SPA and elect or recall judges and other members of the court system. Workplace people's committees and through the various unions are how decisions in each workplace are determined, including distribution, needs, scheduling, etc., and how to meet state budget and planning targets, and includes the choosing and replacing of managers and supervisors. For example, if Kim Jong-un or another official on tour at the facility gave workplace criticisms of shortfallings, it is likely that a discussion in the workplace will take place, and through democratic decision-making, a strategy for solving the problems pointed out in criticism, including replacing the management team for a new one via nomination and election will take place, or some other strategies could be worked out. Now, the State Affairs Commission, formerly the National Defense Commission, is the Supreme Military Guidance Commission and the National Sovereign Organ, and the General National Defense Administrative Organ. It was at the 4th plenary session of the Supreme People's Assembly in June 2016 that the National Defense Commission was officially replaced by the State Affairs Commission. The administration organs, like power organs, consist of central administration and local administration organs. Central administration organ is the cabinet, and the local administration organs are the local people's committees at all levels. The cabinet is the government of the Republic, and so the premier of the cabinet is officially the head of the government, the role of which, at the time of writing this, was occupied by Comrade Shane. The cabinet's primary role is that of overseeing the DPRK's planned economy, and is the administrative execution body and the general state management body of the supreme organ. The cabinet carries out the laws, decrees, decisions, and orders of the SPA. It too is elected by and subordinate to the SPA. As I mentioned earlier, all organs of state power in the DPRK are elected either by the people or by their representatives in the SPA. The cabinet can adopt measures, but not new laws or constitutional amendments. Local administration organs are composed of provincial, or the city under the direct jurisdiction, people's committees, city or district people's committees, and county people's committee. And they also are the administrative executive bodies. They can adopt measures to carry out bylaws, laws, organize plans to carry out the decisions of the cabinet as to the economy. The DPRK's nature as a planned economy means that organs such as the local People's Assembly actually have much more power over the local economy than those in market economies. And as I mentioned already, although it is worth mentioning again because it is perhaps the most overlooked feature of the DPRK, that places of work are managed by an elected committee who decide how to implement the cabinet and the SPA's decree as to economic targets. This committee must be composed of at least 60% workers to avoid the council being dominated by old petty bourgeois elements. The party committee itself elects an executive committee which takes the role of the day-to-day running of the workplace, the equivalent of the presidium and the local people's committee. I will also mention that the unions are heavily encouraged and even subsidized by the DPRK government. Some examples are the General Federation of Trade Unions of Korea, the Union of Agricultural Workers of Korea, and Korean Democratic Women's Union, just to name a few. And there is even an active children's union, much to the horror of the imperialist states, which barely allow adults to have unions. This union system provides reinforcement of the dictatorship of the proletariat, allowing the people multiple democratic methods and channels to see their wishes and needs are fulfilled. Now finally, because we constantly hear how the DPRK is isolationist, let us just address the DPRK's foreign policy. The ideas underlying the DPRK's foreign relations are independence, peace, and friendship. The government of the Republic strives to further strengthen friendship and solidarity with the world's people on the basis of the ideas of independence, peace, and friendship, and to make the international community independent and democratic, and thus actively contribute to the common cause of mankind to build a free, peaceful, friendly new world free from domination and subjugation. On the principle of independence, the government of the Republic promotes friendship and cooperation with the various countries of the world and makes positive efforts to destroy the old international order of domination and subjugation. Establish a new one based on equality, justice, and fairness, and develop the South-to-South cooperation on the principle of collective self-reliance. At the same time, it makes every effort in unity with all the peace-loving peoples of the world to frustrate the aggression, interference, and disturbance of imperialists. Reduce armaments, nuclear armaments in particular, thereby meeting the desire of human beings to live in a world free from nuclear weapons and to safeguard peace and security in Asia and the rest of the world. So as we can see, DPRK is not isolationist. Any isolation they encounter is actually due to the isolating tactics of imperialists, who embargo them, who sanction them, and who outright slander and lie about them in media while not offering any alternative perspectives. We don't see any Korean publications, we don't see any Korean movies on TV, not from independent Korea. DPRK's foreign relations are founded on equality, and they are not willing to deal unilaterally, because they believe that there should be no small or large parties, only equal nations who all have equality in political international affairs. Finally, before ending the video, I would like to dispel one final myth, which is the common trope that only one political party exists in the DPRK. While the WPK, the Workers' Party of Korea, is the most important and popular political party, it is hardly the only one. There are several political parties and public organizations, including the Korean Social Democratic Party, the Chondoist Chongu Party, Democratic Lawyers Association of Korea, Religious Believers Council of Korea, Korean Federation for Protection of the Disabled, just to name a few. Perhaps in the future I will make a video explaining some of the political parties, public organizations, and their role in the DPRK. Until then, if you'd like to understand better the WPK's role as the leading party and general staff of revolution, look for my video on the truth about leaders and leadership in the DPRK, which you can find on this channel. That's all for this episode. If you enjoyed what you saw, please like, share, and subscribe so we can spread the truth about DPRK and march towards a peaceful, independent new world. Songun salute, comrades.